Here we are again, and this time we're going to look at A Garagem da Vizinha by Quim Barreiros. Quim is short for Joaquim, common Portuguese name, and Garagem da Vizinha means the garage of the neighbor. What could that be about? So this is one of the seminal songs of the genre Pimba in Portugal. Which Pimba is hard to nail down exactly what is Pimba, right? On the one hand, it has some songs are like more humorous and others are more melodramatic, and they're all Pimba, and some have more folksy instruments, some have this 80s, 90s electronic vibe. What they have in common is that people think they're tacky, and they're very popular with, normal people, the average Joe. This isn't something unique to Portugal. I think in every culture there is this. In the United States, there is country music. There are some which are more humorous. For example, Johnny Cash's Flushed from the Bathroom of Your Heart, and others which are completely melodramatic, romantic, serious. And it's all country. Now, Quim Barreiros didn't coin the term Pimba. Emmanuel did, that's another song, but he is kind of the main figure that people associate with Pimba. And a lot of it is due to this song, which, like many of Quim Barreiros' songs, have this strong double entendre sexual innuendo, but they are absolutely implicit. There are no curse words, there's no overt references to sex, and yet the whole song is about it, which is awesome, frankly. Now the song starts with this little jingle that just became associated with Pimba, which I will sing. So the first verse goes like this. Lá na rua onde eu moro, conheci uma vizinha. So the translation. Back in the street where I live, I met a neighbor. So there are several things going on here. First, we start with lá na rua. So in English, there are two relative locations. Here and there. Here is close to the speaker. There is away from the speaker. In Portuguese, there are three locations. Aqui, close to the speaker. Aí, close to the listener, that's you, and ali, away from the speaker and the listener. But besides these three words, there are two other ones. There is cá, which is another version of aqui, and lá, which is another version of there. But these are used for a bigger scale, right? Whereas aqui, aí, e ali are things in our immediate surroundings. Cá is something, over here in Portugal. Whereas lá is somewhere away from here. You can think of cá as the English over here and lá as over there. Much like in English, when you're close to home, you say I'm going home. But when you're far away from home, like studying at university, you say back home, which means home is far away. Same thing here. Lá na rua means that, back in the street where I live, right? Lá immediately creates some distance, rather than just saying na rua onde eu moro. And it also adds an extra syllable to fit in with the melody. Now, he met a neighbor, and we instantly know it's female because it's not vizinho, it's uma vizinha. Minor detail. I wonder if it will be relevant. Separada do marido, está morando sozinha. Separada do marido, está morando sozinha. Separated from the husband, she is living alone. And here we have something interesting. So, está morando, she is living. But it's using the gerund, morando, living, which is how things are usually said in Spanish and Brazilian Portuguese. But in Center and north of Portugal, typically I would say está a morar. Instead of the gerund, we just say a and then the infinitive. But in the southern part, in Alentejo and Algarve, the very south, it is still normal for people to use the gerund. And I think that's what Quim Barreiros is playing with. You see, using the gerund has a connotation of Alentejo, and Alentejans have a bit of a connotation for being lazy, less intelligent. It's the same stereotype as people from the southern United States, right? The rednecks. But Quim Barreiros is actually from the very north of Portugal, near Viana de Castelo. There's no reason he should say morando, but his whole aesthetic of playing the accordion, he wears this cowboy hat, mustache, he wants to give an impression of being a folksy, village guy. That's part of the aesthetic of the songs. He's not one of them city dwellers. He's like you and me. That is why he's still so popular in villages around Portugal, still touring. I saw him live once at a village, and it was great. Everyone loved it. Além dela ser bonita, é poço de bondade. Além dela ser bonita, é poço de bondade. Besides her being beautiful, she is a well of kindness. Dela. So, além de, besides, we need to have a de after além for some reason. We like the word de in Portugal. So it would be além de ela. But whenever a de is next to a word that begins with an e, they usually get mixed together. So there would be no point in saying além de ela. So it's além dela. Just like because of that. Por causa disso. Right? Por causa de isso. De plus isso becomes disso. You could say we like to mince words. Vendo meu carro na chuva, ofereceu sua garagem. All right, so got some interesting stuff happening here. Seeing my car in the rain, she offered her garage. Ah, isn't that nice of the neighbor? Another thing is, before possessive pronouns like meu, mine, you would usually put an article. I would say my car, o meu carro. Literally, my car. But again, he wants to give this village guy Alentejo vibe, so he talks like they talk. He just says meu carro. Vendo meu carro. And the second verse. Ela disse ninguém usa desde que ele me deixou. All right. Ela disse ninguém usa desde que ele me deixou. No one uses it since implied the time that he left me. In English, you don't have to say the word that. You can just say since he left me. You need to have that que there. You can't say desde. Unless a date, like since March, desde março. But a moment, you need the que. There's a lot of que, this word, and de, it's everywhere in Portuguese. Get used to it. Dentro da minha garagem, teias de aranha juntou. Next we got dentro da minha garagem, teias de aranha juntou. Now, of course, the is a contraction of the. De plus a becomes the. And I was having trouble with the song because it didn't quite fit. Because I was trying to sing teias de aranha. But of course, de ends in an e and aranha starts with a vowel. So he just says teias de aranha. Whenever there's a de and some vowel, it gets minced. I repeat myself. Teias de aranha, cobwebs, literally webs of spider. Because in English, there are two ways of saying that something belongs to something. Like you can say dog food, But you could also say food of dog. In Portuguese, you can't. You have to say comida de cão. It's the only option. Same thing here, right? You could say spider webs or webs of spider. You could say it. People don't. But we can only say webs of spider. Teias de aranha. Põe teu carro aqui dentro, se não vai enferrujar. Põe teu carro aqui dentro, se não vai enferrujar. Put your car inside, or else it will rust. Põe teu carro aqui dentro. Again, there's no article before teu. I would say, põe o teu carro aqui dentro. If I was telling someone to put their car in my garage. We got here the word senão, or else. Otherwise. And it clearly came from the words se não, if not, and eventually became one word. Enferrujar, that is the verb to rust. It comes from iron, which is ferro. Not to be confused with the noun, the rust, a ferrugem. A garagem é usada, mas teu carro vai gostar. A garagem é usada, mas teu carro vai gostar. The garage is used, but your car will like it. Are we really talking about cars and garages? It's a question that's on my mind. Anyway, vai gostar. This is how we use the future tense in Portuguese. You just use the verb to go, ir, in the present tense, in this case, the third person, it goes, vai, and then just the infinitive of the verb you want. In this case, to like, gostar. Your car will like it. Teu carro vai gostar. Then we got the chorus, same chords as the rest of the song. Põe o carro, tira o carro, a hora que eu quiser. Got a lot of information here. I put the car. Present tense of the verb pôr, ponho, irregular. And then, tiro o carro, I take out the car. Not I take the car, that would be levar, but I take it out, tirar. Anytime I want, a hora que eu quiser, literally, at the hour that I want. You might be wondering, what is that word quiser? That is the verb querer, to want, in the conjunctive future. What's the conjunctive future? The conjunctive future is a tense that we use when something will happen in the future. You don't know exactly when, but for sure it will happen. It's not a hypothetical, it's a plan. So what Quim Barreiros is saying is that he will put and take out the car anytime he wants, and this is definitely going to happen. It's not a maybe. But don't worry too much about the conjunctive future. That's more advanced Portuguese. You can get by without it for, well, even years. I just told you what it was because you asked. Que garagem apertadinha, que doçura de mulher. Que garagem apertadinha. There's that que again. But here it means what a tight garage, right? So que is in this sense of like, what a lovely cake, right? Que belo bolo. Or sometimes the word how in English does this, like how cute. Que giro. If we're talking about a male dog. Female dog would be que gira. Sometimes in English you say it with so nice. We just go with que bom. And now here he says, what a tight garage, but not just tight, not just apertada, but apertadinha. The diminutive of apertada, right? So you could translate this as, what a tight little garage. English has no diminutives. You have to say little before. Portuguese has diminutives. They make things smaller. And they have augmentatives. So, for example, dog is cão. And a little dog would be cãozinho. But a big dog, or in English, a big old dog, that would be a cãozão. right? So inho generally makes things small, it's a diminutive, and ão makes things big, it's an augmentative. And putting things in the diminutive, just like in English, just a little old joke, it makes things funnier and removes the seriousness out of it. And maybe gives some extra connotation. Why is he calling this garage a tight little garage? Well, are we still talking about garages? And there it is again. What a sweetness of a woman. Doçura, the noun. The adjective sweet would be doce, right? And he's saying, what a sweetness, how sweet. Que doçura. There's that que again. Tiro cedo e ponho à noite, e às vezes à tardinha. Tiro cedo e ponho à noite. I take it out early and put it in at night. There's that tiro again. The old in-out. E às vezes à tardinha. Às vezes is a very useful expression. It means sometimes, and literally it means at times. Às vezes. And again, he's not just saying, sometimes in the afternoon. He's saying, às vezes à tardinha, which has that playful, maybe slightly naughty vibe. Also, diminutives change the meaning. For example, instead of morning, manhã. If I would say manhãzinha, it means waking up early. In English, you would call that the crack of dawn. À tardinha, that's not just the afternoon, but the late afternoon, probably after work. And noitinha would be what the Irish would call the wee hours of the night. Estou até mudando o óleo na garagem da vizinha. Estou até mudando o óleo na garagem da vizinha. I am even changing the oil in the garage of the neighbor. So there's that mudando, that gerund again. I would say estou até a mudar o óleo na garagem da vizinha. But this is correct, completely correct. Both are valid. Before that, there is até. And até usually means until, like see you tomorrow. Até amanhã, until tomorrow. But here, it means even in the sense of I'm even changing the oil in the neighbor's garage. So this garage is tight. He goes there often, well, anytime he wants, and he changes his oil there. Now we go into this little bridge with that melody, and that melody I've heard on other songs. It just became kind of like the symbol of Pimba. Let's go to the next verse. Só que o meu possante carro tem bonito atrelado. This translates to, the thing is my mighty car has a beautiful trailer. Well, we start with só que. Só means only, and que means many things, as you know. But in this case, it means the thing is, right? So I'd like to do that. The thing is, I can't because something else. Só que. Like, I want to buy a car. The thing is, I don't have any money. Quero comprar carro, só que não tenho dinheiro. O meu possante carro. Possante is a funny adjective. You don't hear this word often. It means like mighty, powerful, imposing. Many things can be possante, like a big monument, or an elephant is an animal that I would call possante. Or certain breeds of dog, right? A Chihuahua is not possante, but a Rottweiler, he is possante. And a machine can be possante, right? Like a big ship, or a car, right? Like a Mustang, that is possante. And apparently, Keen's car is possante. And in addition to that, tem bonito atrelado. Has a beautiful trailer. Que eu uso para vender coco e ganhar mais trocado. That I used to sell coconut to get some extra change. Que eu uso, that I use. This is the most usual meaning of que, that, or which. There's pra, which is the word para, right? Uso para, I use for. But when you're saying or singing, you always say pra. Ganhar mais trocado. So ganhar means win, but it also means earn, as in your salary. He wins some more change. Now, usually change, like keep the change, is trocos, but it can also be trocado. And trocado is much more singable. A garagem é pequena, o que é que eu faço agora? The garage is small, what do I do now? O que é que eu faço agora? There's a lot of things here. So, que by itself, like I said, usually means that or which. But when it's o que, it means what. This takes some getting used to, the fact that the word what is usually two words in Portuguese. But why doesn't he just say o que faço agora? What I do now. Well, just like in English, when you ask a question, you use the word do so that people know it's not a statement. Like, you like dogs, statement. Do you like dogs? What's do doing there? Do is there to make it clear that you're asking a question because you can't hear a question mark. So que, that's our do. It makes it clear to the listener that you're asking them a question, right? Literally, it would translate to, what is it that I do now? But it's like do. It doesn't really mean anything. It just says that you're asking a question. You could ask, o que faço agora? But people tend to not do that because that's ambiguous. That could either mean, what do I do now? Or the thing that I do now. O meu carro fica dentro, os cocos ficam de fora. O meu carro fica dentro, os cocos ficam de fora. My car stays inside. The coconuts stay outside. Funny how dentro, inside is one word, but de fora, on the outside, is two words. Right? So he has a mighty car with a pretty trailer that inside has coconuts, right? So it has round objects and it's attached to his car, but they don't fit inside. So the car stays inside while the coconuts hang outside. And another verse. A minha vizinha é boa, da garagem vou cuidar. We start off great. A minha vizinha é boa, comma. My neighbor is good. On the surface, that's what it means, but when you want to say that a person is good, like in English, you say, she's a good person, right? Not just she is good. Same thing in Portuguese. We would say, ela é boa pessoa. Because when you say the feminine singular adjective of good, boa, talking about a woman, that means hot, sexy, right? So he's saying, my neighbor's hot. I'm just moving on with the rest of the song. Da garagem vou cuidar. Of the garage, I will take care. There's that future again. Present of ir, I go, vou, and then the infinitive of take care, cuidar. That is also why watch out is cuidado. Very useful. Na porta mato cresceu, dei jeito de cortar. Na porta mato cresceu. Okay, so this is mato, not mata. So mata is the woods, right? It's a nice word for the woods. Mato can mean the woods, but it's more unkept woods, like brush, or just an unkept garden where shrubbery grew, so it has this bad connotation. And here he's saying that by the door of the garage where he puts his car, a lot of bush grew, which has the exact same connotation as it does in English. Then he says, dei jeito de cortar. Now, jeito is a word that means many things. I'm not going to talk about all the meanings of jeito, but all the meanings of dar, to give, with jeito. It can mean come in handy. Isto dá jeito. This comes in handy. Or to sprain a muscle. So, I sprained my ankle. Dei jeito no tornozelo. But in this case, it's like the English phrasal verb to fix up, right? Not fix, because that like fix a car, that's hard, but yeah, I just fixed it up. It was like a not difficult task, like plugging a hole. I fixed it up, no big deal. Yeah, so for Quim, it was no big deal. It was a simple task, quick fix up to trim this bush. A bondade da vizinha é coisa de outro mundo. A bondade da vizinha, the kindness or goodness of the neighbor, right? Bom is good, and bondade is the noun, goodness, kindness. É coisa de outro mundo. It's a thing from another world. Self-explanatory. Quando não usa da frente, usa a garagem do fundo. Wow. And then he says, and this is the best line of the song, quando não uso a da frente, uso a garagem do fundo. When I don't use the one in the front, I use the garage in the back. There are two garages. There are two entrances. I need to talk about the word fundo. So fundo usually means, when it's a noun, the bottom. O fundo. Can be an adjective. Deep. Fundo. Or if it's female, funda. That is why depth is profundidade. But sometimes, like here, it's used in the horizontal sense. Like, you know, where's the door? Oh, it's way over there at the end of the corridor. And we would refer to that as fundo because it's far, like the bottom of a well, right? Interesting. So sometimes he doesn't use the front garage, he uses the garage in the back. The garage way out back. This is just incredible, right? Because, I mean, this is a reference to anal sex in a novelty song that can be played any time of the day on any show, because the lyrics are completely implicit, right? There's nothing here that, you know, the censors could say, hey, you can't say that on TV. What? I'm just talking about the garage. This is pure musical comedy gold. This is Quim Barreiros' undoubtable magnum opus. I love it. And then, like any good song, we just loop the chorus, the very catchy chorus, a bunch of times. Ponho o carro, tiro o carro à hora que eu quiser. Que garagem apertadinha, que doçura de mulher. Tiro cedo e ponho à noite, e às vezes à tardinha. Estou até mudando o óleo na garagem da vizinha. Got a little melody. And then you repeat the chorus a few more times until the fade out, of course. So people can clap their hands and sing. Makes people happy. Yeah, so I think this song is just incredible. Like, this is one of the dirtiest songs ever, and yet, because everything's implicit, No problem. There is not one curse word or one mention of genitalia. We're just talking about the garage. Amazing. If I was younger, I might consider this and other Pimba songs tacky and lame, but now I see it for what it is. An incredibly well-constructed piece of musical comedy. Classic, and the world didn't know that there was this gem of a song here until now. Well, I hope you enjoy that. Go ahead and listen to Quim Barreiros in Spotify or YouTube and sing along, now with a renewed appreciation for his craft. That's it for now. See you in the next song.